world, if you want to have advantage over most people in this world, then watch this video. I want you to imagine all of your negative thoughts that you have your whole life, such as, I'm an idiot, I'm afraid, I'll fail, I'm worse, I'm nothing, they're gonna disrespect me, expectations, how do I act, future is awful, I'm uncertain, yada yada yada, how this, yada yada, psychological negative thoughts. I'm not talking about real physical danger or hunger or your accidents, physical accidents, only purely psychological. All of those thoughts that you have, what usually happens is we fall for them. We think that they represent reality. We think that they represent something outside. Okay? We think that they represent and point to us. They describe certain things about us or about reality, right? And that creates all sorts of rubbish, because you feel bad. When you feel bad, you suffer, and because you suffer, you want to change your thinking, right? You think a certain way, and then you're trying to protect yourself by thinking differently. You want to suppress those negative thoughts. You want to fight them. You want to change your mindset. You want to change yourself. All those attempts are doomed to fail. Now, imagine this thought here: I'm a dinosaur. When you think this specific thought, you probably think that it doesn't make sense, it's funny. You have no reaction to this thought. And you're right, because it doesn't mean anything, right? I'm a dinosaur. What does it even mean? Nothing. Well, guess what? There's no difference between this thought here and all of your other thoughts. 100%. No difference. They're all created in the same way. They all have the same structure, and they all have the same source. The only reason those negative thoughts are more scary to you is because they have social context. And they all about an image of yours. That's it. That's why. But it doesn't mean that they're different. They're still the same. So let me give an example, easier example so you understand. So all of them are made of memory. I think it's clear. All thoughts are memories. Boom. All of them are memory. And what is memory essentially? Memory is memory is the past. Okay? So all of those thoughts were learned, were created by memory, and memory is the past. So the material of all your thinking is the same material. Now, very quickly, why is it important to us? Now I will give you a little bit of an abstraction so it's easier for you, okay? So imagine that memory is a is clay, okay? This is clay, supposedly. Okay? How to okay, whatever. This is clay. Memory and past is the clay. Everything you've learned is the same material, clay. Now, every single thought you have is the same clay but in different shapes. Okay, for example, this thought is a square, clay in the shape of square, because you can build a lot of different sculptures and things with clay, correct? You can build whatever you want, pretty much. This one is a circle. This one is a star. This one is a, let's say, triangle. And the last one, this shape here, the rhomb, right? So all of those thoughts that you have, the whole thinking, the whole mechanism is made of the same material. We treat all those thoughts differently, right? For us, I'm a failure and I'm the best. We think that they represent different realities. We think that they're different, and we feel differently when we have them. But they're still the same clay in different shapes. Okay? So why it's important? Now, as you see this example, let's take, let's say this thought here. So you think to yourself, I'm an idiot, and put your own example. It's important. Your personal, most annoying thought that you have, or trauma, whatever. I'm an idiot. What happens immediately is, you know, contextually, socially, from the memory as well, that being an idiot is bad. It's embarrassing. You're gonna get rejected if you're an idiot. People are gonna laugh at you if you're an idiot. So what you're trying to do instantly is to prove to this thought that you're not an idiot. But guess what? The solution that you create is another clay born out of this initial thought. Okay? Let's say I'm not an idiot, or protect, or suppress. You want to suppress this thought because it gives you pain. All right? So the solution is born out of the problem. Okay, no. Wait a second. Okay. Problem is here. Solution is here. Okay, so the solution that you're trying to apply to a problem, I'm an idiot, they're gonna laugh at me, I'm gonna prove them wrong, I'm not idiot, or you accept that you're an idiot, which is another form of escape. You're still trying to run away blindly. Solution is born out of the problem, and that's the main problem and confusion to all of you, because if the solution worked, you will always win. You will always feel good. You will always solve problems with a snap of your fingers. But it never happens, because solution that you create is born out of the problem. And why it happens? Because both of those things are both products of the memory. They're both made out of clay. Okay? The social context with all this negative connotation and association of being an idiot is learned, and the assumption that you have to protect yourself because it's awful and you have to be, you don't want to be an idiot, is also born out of the social context that you have from this problem. Okay, so they're both the same. Okay, what usually happens, the whole internal conflict, if we simplify it, the whole internal conflict of all people is that they have a problem. They want to solve this problem to receive some sort of solution or comfort or relief, right? So essentially what they're trying to do is they're trying to use clay to work with another clay and somehow receive, let's say, gold. Is there gold? There should be. Okay, price. Okay, let's put sun, because I don't have gold here. So the problem for most people is they always analyze themselves, right? But it means absolutely nothing. It's meaningless. So they're trying to analyze themselves using the thing that created the image of them, and they want to create something different. They want to have a different result. They have a problem. This problem is born out of the a solution is born out of the problem. So it's the same thing essentially. And you want to solve it to come to a certain resolution. But guess what? Any type of resolution you'll get is also a part of the clay. You cannot escape from your memory. You cannot separate yourself from the memory and look at the problem outside of the memory. Okay? So if you see it clearly now, the whole problem around the internal conflict and all those negative thoughts you have is just disappears. And you can look at the situation clearly, because it all comes down to this formula from my last video. This formula. Situation, thought about me, and reaction to that thought. So watch my I think it's last video, right? Yeah, it's last video. So it looks like this. Now, I hope it makes sense now. Look, there is a certain situation in your life. Correct? There is a certain situation in your life. Every single situation that happens is neutral. But through interpretation, through translation, you create the problem by yourself. You think you react to the situation is awful. No, it's you, your memory, who created that situation. So situation is neutral. Through translation, you create a problem. I'm an idiot. And then what you're trying to solve is the initial thought that you have. You're not dealing with the situation. You never deal with the situation. You never look clearly at what happens. All you do and all you work with is the initial problem that you yourself created. And because thinking is a huge network of associations and words, it's never gonna end. You'll never find solution to your problem, because both solution and both the problem are the same thing, coming from the same source. That's why it's psychological problems only. Practical problems are different. They have reference. Here you don't have no reference. Alright? So the big conclusion that we can make is thought is not equal the status of the truth. Look at this formula again. Every single thought you have, very important, is learned. Every single reaction is learned. You recognize its reaction. You recognize the problem. That was awful. They did this, they did that. So it already happened before, and you apply the same label to a neutral situation, and you never deal with it clearly. That's why you're insecure. That's why you're afraid. That's why you're uncertain. That's why you don't believe in yourself. That's why you are limiting. That's why you cannot talk to people. That's why you're ashamed and embarrassed. Embarrassment, all those things don't exist. They only exist as this problem here. All abstractions. They're not real. You always deal with abstractions, because you are yourself is also an abstraction. That's why you're always in a loop. You're always losing. Psychologically, you're always losing. You can convince yourself and short-term belief in yourself in the moment, but it's gonna end, and you think that you have to do it again. And you live in loops of feeling good, feeling bad, feeling good, feeling bad, awful, good, awful, good. Psychotherapy doesn't really help. Because you're working with the content. You're not working with the whole mechanism itself. Okay? And I understand that it might be confusing, because I think it seems weird, right? It seems too much. And I'm working on finding out the ways to explain it a little bit simpler. But that's what it is for now. Alright.